It's Super Tuesday, and the Democratic primary is Joe Biden's to lose. So why are some Colorado Democrats picking none of the above?
No other family should ever have to go through this. We should have never had to.
The United States Postal Service is reevaluating the safety of their fleet of truckers. It took a fatal crash in Colorado to push them into action. The federal government won't expand work opportunities for migrants, so community groups in Denver are stepping up to provide paid work instead.
The newcomers are thrilled to give back and to thank the community for all the help that they've given them.
Some very enthusiastic birdwatchers want to make sure Broomfield's bald eagles are here for a good time and a long time. All that and more tonight on Next.
If you're watching this, it's too late. Almost. Coloradans have an hour left to cast their ballots in the presidential primary. It's not exactly a nail-biter. President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump have won almost every nominating contest so far. More than 1.2 million ballots had been processed as of 3 this afternoon. The majority of those early returns are Republican ballots. And so far, unaffiliated voters who can vote in either primary are overwhelmingly turning in Republican ballots, despite the GOP's repeated efforts to exclude them from the primary. So their unsuccessful attempts actually mean more Republican ballots are getting cast. In fact, about a third so far are from unaffiliated voters. And the presidential primary is not a winner-take-all. If any Republican gets 20% support, they will get delegates from Colorado sent to the national convention where Republicans will choose their nominee. If any Democratic candidate gets 15%, they'll get support at the national convention where Democrats pick their nominee. And that includes a candidate known as Noncommitted delegate. Politics guy Marshall Zellinger is at the presidential primary watch party at DU to explain the effort to siphon votes away from President Biden. Marshall?
Well, hello there, Angeline. The effort to get Democrats and unaffiliated voters to turn in the blue ballot and choose non-committed delegate, that began last week, following an effort in Michigan where 100,000 voters did it. It's being led by the Denver Democratic Socialists and the Colorado Palestine Coalition. It's basically a protest vote against President Biden for not being able to get a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas conflict. The effort to get 15% for non-committed delegate would mean, if that happens, Colorado sends delegates to the national convention where those people would vote for no one the first time around, though if there were a second round of voting, they could choose Biden if they wanted to. So I asked some of the supporters if a non-committed delegate vote today is just going to end up being a Biden vote in November.
So if someone is choosing to vote non-committed this time, and if they've never been electorally active in the past, it shows that they have a clear stance on this issue and that it means a lot to them. We have a lot of folks, a lot of younger voters, folks from diverse backgrounds, a huge number of Palestinians themselves who live here in Denver and Arab Americans who care very deeply about this issue.
And that's a really hard thing for a lot of us, right? Is this idea that if Biden loses, Trump wins. But if Biden wins, he needs to do what I have asked him to do. And he's showing that he's not going to do that. So in that regard, he's not better than Trump.
Both of those voters told me they voted for Biden in 2020 and would not do so in November if it was Biden versus Trump. Not to be lost in all this is the Republican ballot, and the one thing we're looking for is, will Nikki Haley get a win in Colorado, or will it be Donald Trump territory just like it has been across the nation? And I can't forget that we're at a DU watch party. These are students here who have been engaged in the presidential primary process throughout, and I always love a good game of bingo. Super Tuesday bingo, and I don't think they're watching us right now, but I'll just give them a little, can't wait for the American Samoa votes to come out and hear some Taylor Swift lyrics being joked around at the polls. Look, 3 right there, 3 across.
You need some incentives, right, to get the young people out to the polls. Bingo, pizza, it's anything that you can get them there, right, Marshall?
I mean, there's cookies, too. I thought for a minute it might be free food gets them out here. These people are really engaged. There's one class here by a DU political science professor, so they're already kind of in the weeds about this to even be in that class in the first place. So these are truly students who care about this. And I'm going to tell everybody, you're doing a phenomenal job, and to go home and watch it after they're done here, Angelina.
Passionate students who are the future of our country. Thanks, Marshall. And 9 News will be following along tonight as Super Tuesday results come in. Marshall will be analyzing what Colorado's results mean and why President Biden or former President Trump may not get every delegate the state has to give. You can follow our updates tonight on air and online at 9news.com. In Colorado, Republicans are turning their sights on Democratic Secretary of State Jena Griswold now that the Supreme Court has rejected a legal effort to keep former President Donald Trump off of the ballot. In a statement, Republican Congresswoman Lauren Boebert and the leadership of the Colorado Republican Party are accusing Griswold of attempting to, quote, rig the election. They're threatening legal action and a potential recall effort. We should note Griswold advocated for removing Trump from the ballot, but she cannot remove Trump from the ballot herself and did not attempt to do so. She was sued by a group of Republican voters seeking to disqualify Trump from the office, and Griswold has repeatedly said she would abide by a court decision either way. And recalling Griswold is a long shot. Even getting a recall question on a ballot would require critics to circulate a petition and get about 620,000 signatures. Trucks contracted by the United States Postal Service have been involved in hundreds of crashes that killed dozens of people. It wasn't until 5 people died in a crash in Weld County that we began asking questions. And that's when changes started happening. Now the Postal Service is canceling its contracts with trucks that should have never been on the road in the first place. Here's Mark Salinger.
On a stretch of I-25 known for its crashes, this one may finally bring change.
No other family should ever have to go through this. We should have never had to.
In June of 2022, Abby and Chris Godinez lost their mother, father, brother, niece, and soon-to-be sister-in-law. The truck that slammed into the family's car at 70 miles an hour was carrying mail, contracted by the U.S. Postal Service.
The devastation that these vehicles can cause, I mean, there's a reason why you have to have a CDL. You're not just operating a normal vehicle.
The driver didn't have a proper license. The company didn't have insurance. The truck didn't have working brakes. Experts say it should never have been on the road. Yet a new report commissioned by Congress shows the crash is yet another example of lax oversight by the Postal Service. The Office of Inspector General found trucks carrying mail were involved in 373 crashes, resulting in 89 deaths across the country from 2018 to 2022. Yet the Postal Service didn't cancel a single contract with any trucking company, even after all those people died.
Angry, upset, confused, lost. It's just a whole lot of emotion.
In March of 2023, after Chris and Abby lost their family, and we started asking questions about why this truck was ever even on the road, USPS canceled its contract with the trucking company involved in the crash. The first time it had ever done that.
It takes public pressure to get government servants at the USPS to give 2 cents about safety. That's what it tells you.
Zach Cahalan is with the Truck Safety Coalition in Washington, D.C. The new report recommends a long list of changes to the Postal Service's trucking policies.
Okay, people were dying before, but until it was public, no one cared.
Changes that come too late for Abby and Chris.
It shouldn't be like this. We shouldn't have to be fighting for our family.
The driver of the truck in Weld County is charged with vehicular homicide. The trial opened really is expected to start on March 18th. So while 373 crashes in 4 years involving trucks carrying mail may sound like a lot, there actually could be a lot more. We don't know for sure, since the audit also found that the Postal Service doesn't bother to keep track of how many people died or were injured in crashes, Angeline, involving USPS trucks.
I mean, it seems pretty clear that this truck shouldn't have been on the road at all, but how did it get there in the first place?
Basically, as far as we know, it kind of fell through the cracks. There aren't mechanisms that are strong enough to stop drivers who don't have a CDL from being on the road, or trucking companies that don't have insurance from trucking. Want to note, this company bought insurance or tried to buy insurance for this truck 45 minutes after the crash happened.
45 minutes too late.
Too late.
Yeah, thanks so much, Mark. And we've said this over and over again. Migrants who come here just want to work, but finding day labor isn't easy. And it's even harder to find a fixed, stable job when you first arrive. So 2 moms have worked together on creating a program, a transitional program that allows migrants to work right away.
We want citizens of Denver to recognize that these newcomers are not going to just take from society. They want to give to society. And so for me personally, it fills my heart with such joy to help people on their road to self-sufficiency.
That's Vanessa Coates, who started working on this program back in December. This week, the crew was doing trash pickup, and this is a donation-based program, and migrants will only work up to 30 hours. At $20 per hour, they can only make up to $600 in total in this program, so it's really designed as a transitional job to help migrants get on their financial feet when they arrive.
Actualmente hemos trabajado alrededor de unos 5 días realizando la recolección de basura y nos ha ido muy bien. Realmente el recibimiento de la comunidad y de las personas ha sido muy agradable y estamos muy agradecidos por la ayuda.
The reason behind the $600 earning cap is to make sure that they can keep the money in their pockets. Higher pay means having to report the income and pay taxes. So once they've met those hours and amount, their names go into a database along with their skills so that other community members can hire them based on what they know how to do, like painting or accounting or cooking. And what this shows is that the community really wants to step up. Cities like Denver have been demanding the federal government find more ways to get work permits into people's hands. So far, there is no plan, same with immigration status, to find more streamlined avenues that people don't have to wait in limbo for years after they arrive. Well, here's the thing. People in this community aren't sitting around waiting on the government to come up with a plan. This is a solution, the one that we just talked about, that gives migrants a chance. And odds are we'll probably see more of this as people figure out ways that work within the system, but also get around some of the rules that create obstacles for migrants. Now, I've covered this topic a lot personally here on Next, and tonight we want to open this up to you and hear your questions when it comes to migrants in Denver. You can email your questions to next@9news.com.
So the fact that the bald eagles are here is an indication to us that there's a really healthy habitat.
And year after year, bald eagles come back to Broomfield. Park officials and volunteers are keeping tabs and making sure their return goes smoothly. And it turns out there is such a thing as free lunch in Colorado, at least for a few more years. And the feds are giving the green light to a deal to conserving Colorado River water. This time, Colorado's not on the hook for cuts. That's next. Just a few months into a voter-approved plan to fund free meals for public school students, Colorado lawmakers are scrambling to cover a multi-million-dollar funding gap. Last week, we reported that Colorado's Healthy Meals for All program, which used a tax increase to fund free school meals, was underfunded by as much as $24 million this year. It's also projected to come up short next year. State lawmakers blame that on several factors, like shifting federal guidelines and schools using more funding than anticipated. Yesterday, the state's Joint Budget Committee voted to come up with the extra funding, but they'll only cover the cost of the meals, not additional grants or increased wages for cafeteria workers, which was something that was expected to start next year. And the feds are signing off on a short-term plan to conserve Colorado River water, while the states and tribes who rely on the river specifically turn their attention to long-term negotiations. 3 states, California, Arizona, and Nevada, agreed last year to conserve about 3 million acre-feet of water through 2026. That's a big number, but just so you know, that's enough also to support about 6 million families a year. The Biden administration will kick in $670 million in funding to support those cuts. It's a win for upper basin states like Colorado, who have argued that lower basin states should be on the hook for the biggest cuts. The states still have to hammer out a long-term agreement once the current deal expires in 2026. And River, you know, that's all about weather, all about rain.
Yes.
Kathy, you're here with our weather.
I know. Are you a skier? Do you board?
You know, I ski, but I'm not very good. You don't want to see me out there. Let me just put it that way.
I do want to see you out there. I do want a little YouTube of that. But I was just saying, if you do, you should go at the end of the week because we've got some really good mountain snow coming in and conditions are going to be amazing, Angeline. Here in Denver, we had more cloud cover than sunshine, but temperatures still comfortable. There's light snow falling in the mountains, but no advisories for travel yet. Thursday, a storm will roll in, amping up the snow in the mountains and bringing a rain-snow mix to Denver. Our temperatures today, we're going going to see a nice jump tomorrow of about 5 to 10 degrees as southerly winds increase tomorrow ahead of that Pacific storm, which is on the way. Radar is showing a few light snow showers in the high country, but the main core system still off to the west of us. So you will encounter snow on I-70 tonight and tomorrow. In Denver, a stray rain shower tonight or tomorrow. More sunshine expected tomorrow afternoon with a nice warm up. It's Thursday. We see the cloudy conditions with the rain showers coming in, mixing to snow by Thursday afternoon into Thursday night. This is 5 o'clock Thursday night. It snows overnight Thursday night into Friday, and then the storm is out of here. Right now, we're in that 2 to 3 inch accumulation forecast for Denver between Thursday night and Friday morning. No worries for precipitation tonight, and your extended forecast does show a high near 60 on Wednesday, rain and snow Thursday, and then cold and snow Friday. Don't forget, daylight saving time begins this weekend. Set those clocks ahead 1 hour.
Yeah, being a great mom, keeping her babies warm till they're ready to see the world.
While Mama Bird is watching her nest, volunteers are keeping an eye on the whole family. An annual tradition returns to Broomfield next. A pair of bald eagles has called Broomfield home for the past few years, and the community wants to keep them there for the years to come. We caught up with parks officials today as they track the birds and their well-being.
Yeah, a branch in the way. Wouldn't know she was there without knowing she was there. So my name's Lexi Brewer, and we are here seeing the eagles. So it's a nesting pair of bald eagles. So there is a male and a female, and they've been here for the last 5 years. Being a great mom, keeping her babies warm till they're ready to see the world. This breeding pair did officially confirm incubation on Valentine's Day this year. We all sent emails out to each other to say love is in the air. A big part of making sure that the eagles are safe and able to completely be successful throughout their breeding season is through our Eagle Watch volunteers. And so we do have 40 volunteers this year, and they all sign up for shifts every single day to monitor the eagles and make sure that there aren't any disturbances. So different things that we would look for would be people that would be walking along the trail, bikers or pedestrians, certainly anyone that is doing anything to really disturb them, like throwing things. A lot of people want to get photographs of the eagles and they want to use drone footage, but that is highly illegal. That is a very big disturbance to the eagles. So the fact that the bald eagles are here is an indication to us that there's a really healthy habitat, a really healthy prey base. So you can see behind us we do have prairie dogs here, which we'll often see the bald eagles picking up on prairie dogs. We're protecting habitat. We're protecting Broomfield open spaces for wildlife. So we feel that we're very, very lucky to be able to share these open spaces with the abundant wildlife that also call these places home.
We love that. Marissa, you're here with feedback. It's next. Thanks so much. All right, let's get into some of the feedback from tonight. Mark says, as a small business owner, I would love to be able to put some of the migrants to work on my roofing crews. Without a work permit, though, the options for hiring these folks are slim to none. Fix the work permit program and the migrant quote-unquote problem will likely get better. A lot of people have, the same question, how do people get around the work permit issue? Now, some people have thrown around a contract-based system, so a legitimate contract would then hire these employees and then someone else would hire the contractor. That has yet to be seen, but people have talked about that as one of the options to get around this. Another question, JB in Fort Collins asks, where did you get the information regarding that the undocumented did not have to report it? They're not a nonprofit, so that's how they got around that. Thanks so much for joining us here at Next.